Hi, my name's Jin. Welcome to this interview with my dear friend, a true sister, Anu Veda, one of the main composers and founders of Rose Hive Temple Grove. Welcome, Anu Veda. How are you doing today?
Beautifully, beautifully. Just getting ready for this wonderful performance that I spoke earlier about.
So this is the reason I wanted to have Anu Veda here today, you guys, is there's this prayerful performance that I have the honor and joy to be a part of. Anu Veda, ever since you've come into my life for these past 4 years, I've just been so inspired and uplifted by you every time I'm in your presence. So thank you for making the effort and giving us your presence today so that people could understand what you've been doing as a composer, as a songwriter, and what you have up and coming with this prayerful performance. So I wanted to first ask you, I see on your Instagram, your Rose Hive Temple Grove Instagram, Prist Ben Drury. Would you mind telling us a little bit about that? Because I know that's how you're identifying yourself on there.
All right. Well, thank you for asking me that question. It's my moniker name is Anuveda, and Anuveda is also the name that I was initiated with and ordained in Ireland with the Fellowship of Isis, the FOI, and that's a really broad I guess, umbrella, because under the umbrella of the FOI, the founder, Lady Olivia Robertson, who passed in 2013, she was 96 years old. She was a incredibly playful, creative artist and had a deep love for the metaphysical as well. And as my mentor, she came at the perfect time. And what I guess in a nutshell, because I could tell a story about this, is that I was ordained in the traditional ways of how our matriarchs used to work in community. So what that means is rites of passages from birth to death. So taking care of the first life, taking care of women when they're pregnant. So I went through different initiations from becoming a doula and also caring for the life phases from baby, because I've been working with children for 20 years. I've raised my own children, then working with maidens or young men, and then, of course, working with mothers, or I also marry people, so I'm ordained to officiate marriages, and also getting the midlife friends, those who are entering from 50 to 70, is a really important time of legacy. And from legacy comes, eventually into that time where we cross over death. So caring for the deceased and creating ceremonies around that and cleansing the bodies and doing prayers. So basically, my role is uh, being a bringing back in this era a depth of remembering of how we can care for life from the lens of the matriarch. And that takes a while to understand because you as a woman, myself as a woman, we have to go through phases of that. So I've already been, the child, the maiden, the mother, moving into the midlife, and I'm almost 50 years old. So it's an interesting concept. So it makes a lot of sense, and to be able to hold life and to care for it. And so that is kind of when I was ordained in Ireland, um, I was asked on the day of ordination, how would you like to serve with your priestesshood and as a bandrui? And I said to bring people closer to the great divine, beautiful earth herself, which I call the Mother Matrix, which my theater company is called Mother Matrix Theater. We're starting to open that up now. And to make it palpable and inspiring um, for people to understand in a creative way, in a sensitive way, the um, the journey, the life cycle journey. So I incorporate that into the experience of the theater production. We're, and we're still, we're just in the beginnings of it. So yeah. Is that enough? Was that helpful
That's
for you at this?
wonderful. No, I'm really glad that you told us a little bit about yourself. I'd love it if you could tell us a little bit more about the roots of the origin of you being led to compose music and to bring
Mm.
women together in this way, like we're doing on May 26th, which, by the way, you're invited to. If you're tuning in, please join us at Roncesvalles United Church on May 26th in the evening, and we'll post the link below. But yeah, tell us a little bit about that.
Well, Jen, I just told you just a moment ago the the last recent cycle, but there was a cycle before all of that. And growing up with a family that's Baha'i, um, as a spirit, as a soul, as a human being, what's been helpful is I'm already a natural seeker, so it kind of took the guesswork out of overly seeking because Baha'is believe that all religions are come from the same source, which is that creator love source power. And you begin to appreciate if you, especially for myself growing up in that religion, in that type of spirituality or metaphysical and theological understanding um, that you have a deeper appreciation, not just for uh, spirituality, but for culture, how the human being expresses, and especially for prayer, because prayers are so beautiful in that language. So beautiful. I mean, you have Rumi, you have, if you look at Arabic writings, you translate Sufi poems, the words are so connected, or old poems from Inanna in Mesopotamia. They are so connected to the heart, to the fire of the passion of the duty and the excitement of being alive, and um, that spiritual component of being here on this earth and feeling that connection. So having that really was my first fire, and being living up north and having Baha'is that were also indigenous. They're very generous with inviting my family, my mother, who believed that she had some kind of indigenous background. They were generously invited, I was as well, to come and be part of many ceremonies. And it's I ended up eventually. It wasn't just through the indigenous culture; it was my connection to the land. After growing up with a Baha'i faith, and then having more of a lens, the way my perception is of reality, it made me as a human being, I think, more connected to the earth and to my inner flow and to listening. And eventually, one day, I left to go to British Columbia when I was 18. It was a really quick decision. I hitchhiked across Canada, and what ended up happening was the beginning of where I'm standing right now. And I hid this experience from people. So what happened was the root of the music of composing. I've always loved to sing, but the root of composing came from this moment where I was on Salt Spring Island in 1998, 97, 98. And I was house sitting as an older teenager, 18. And I looked up at the sky and I saw a hawk, eagle, and a raven, and I decided to follow them because I had learned, thank goodness I had learned this from my indigenous elders, that about vision quests. So I happily went along in that little rhythm of metaphysical curiosity and followed those birds, and felt the sacredness in that journey with them in that moment. And I ended up on the top of this mountain, and it was so beautiful. I could see the lake, and the hawks circled me a couple of times. There was a raven standing, the same raven, staring at me in this tree. And all of a sudden, this the atmosphere had become very translucent, and I wasn't even afraid. And I heard the sound of music come through the air. And it was, I still think about how, there was no social media back there. No one was doing, what do they call it? Codes or light language or whatever.
Like codes or
Yeah,
something
I
like
don't
that?
know. Yeah, it wasn't like that. It was, I couldn't, it was so intoxicating to my spirit. And I just heard these beautiful words and music. I just heard something I'd never heard before. Mia mia ta mia ta mia ho. Mia malaya malaya mia yo. Mia nueva nia sa mia la. Gayang 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 holo yola. Gayang 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 holo yola. And it felt like the sun was rising in my being. And I called this the sun healing chant, and I took it in and I just sang it to myself for years and told no one. And more came, more songs came, and I kept them to myself and told no one. I was so secret about them. I didn't want people to judge them, think they were weird, or think they were this or that. I'm so glad that I did. But the moment that I first told this experience fully was on few days before my mother passed away. And she said, "Tell me something that you have always ever wanted to tell me." And something you've always wanted to tell me, sorry about that. There's always music in my home. and and I said, "I want to tell you about the story that when the birds brought me up the side of the mountain." And I told her, and she said, "I want to find out what this is." And I told her, "I keep it secret. I don't want anybody to know about it." When she passed away, my whole life opened. More songs came. The Fellowship of Isis came in. I was guided by my ancestors in Ireland, which is where the Fellowship of Isis comes from, is Ireland. I started to learn more about my origins of being Scottish, Irish, Welsh, um, French, like just these like really strong roots in that area of the world. A little bit of Scandinavian, a little bit of possible um, indigenous, but I loved that my blood was so mixed. Yeah, and so from there, I began my studies and I began to submit. And then in COVID, during COVID, I started to feel restless. So I had an underground drumming circle that I started with various women who would come in and out every Wednesday. The windows were stuffed with pillows. And we came in through the back door. It was our little treat. And I received I didn't share these songs with the women. I just taught them other songs. But one day, a year later into COVID, still COVID on, I received what I feel is the completion song of whatever I was holding. I really felt it. And it's called Miatru. I was just sitting at the table, and it's funny because it was really humble. I was just sitting at the table. I was really eating a lot of Uber Eats. And I was ordering cookies and I was watching comedy. And all of a sudden, because I know what it's like when a song comes in, it was like Spirit said, "I'm giving you this song because I don't know how to access you. You're inside all the time." So all of a sudden I just heard Mia Mia Tru Mia Lawahariawa. You know, Mia Mia Tru Mia Shuk Lawahariawa. So haunting, just giving me chills in my skin. But I just knew within seconds that I had all the songs that I needed for this particular round of whatever it was that I was doing, which I understood as the songs progressed. I had 4 songs that were for each direction. The very first one I already knew was the sun healing chant. It was the Eastern song. And then I got the one for the South, the West, and the North. But it wasn't like I had to sit down and write them. They all came in. So, uh, and they came in through different initiations of in that life cycle that I was going through as an adult, young adult, mother, struggles, and they would come in as deep comfort. I would have prophetic dreams that would come true that would come with them as well. One of them is the Song of the West. I saw these women come in and they were wearing yellow skirts and white shirts and these red headpieces across their eyes, and I thought they were giving me the song. Maybe you all were. You know? But whatever it was auspicious. And I'm so grateful I followed the madness of it and also kept it underground for a while. But then, a month later or so, I realized when I received that fifth song that it was time to tell the women. And I told them quite a long story about each song. And I said to them, after I told them the whole story and sang all the songs, I was so in it that I didn't realize that they were tearing up. And they said, "Can we sing these songs?" And I thought, yes. And as time progressed, I realized absolutely they were the women that I felt in the West. And it would make sense because the direction of the West is about adulthood. It's in that time period that we all are at this moment. So the origins are pretty deep and sentimental to me as a human being, as a spirit, and it's been such an honor and such a gift to just select with spirit these women, and it takes a while to form a group. But I feel what's really potent is recently we just recorded an album together, and I think it's fun to remark that we did our Mayan astrology together as a group, and I'm on my own. I'm the yellow crystal warrior, and together we're yellow warrior. All of us, like all 14 of us together, are yellow warrior. It's so funny how that even ended up happening, and we feel it. Um, so much laughter and humility on the journey in lessons as women together, and we've deepened our practice in and our discipline and our with ourselves and our awareness of our metaphysical selves. And I call that a yantra. I call it a container, a metaphysical container, and it has its own transmission. And it was through that I created the Rose Hive Temple Grove. And originally, Rose Hive Temple Grove was going to be the lyceum that I created to do some kind of priestess training, but I realized that's not what I wanted to do. And actually, naturally, just being in the folds of 6 years of working with various women until we grounded ourselves in, um, we really did develop those potent and remembered spaces within ourselves. And I feel, like I said, just honored, like I've known them from in other lifetimes. There's just the sparkle in their eyes. Yeah, I could tear up. They're just beautiful women. And they really support the work. They support it. They feel it. They know. They understand. Wow, I am so wowed by it. And it's taken time for us to develop, and Spirit has given us different opportunities to work at the opera house to see what it's like on stage to perform theater and storytelling. We did 3 different shows there. Um, we felt so lucky because it really felt like there was nudging from a higher force moving us forward. But I call it evidence. I tell the women it's called evidence when you don't long for it, but you allow it to guide you and show you the place you're supposed to be. The evidence comes up, and that's how we know. They always think, well, where are we going to be going? How do we know? Oh, the evidence will show up. Things will align as long as we're aligned, and it always does. We got to work with an amazing producer who worked on The Passion of Christ with Mel Gibson and did all the music and composed it. And he's also a well-known composer, lives in Toronto, Jack Lenz. Um, and we recorded our album. We're almost finished mixing it. Um, we get to play Boomy, and we're playing, I think it's Massey Hall. And we are very brave and courageous, honestly, because a part of me is like, what are we doing? But I know it's like, Spirit's like, let's amp this up. Let's see what you can do. And I'm like, oh my. I was cool with just simple, but so this show was inspired by our producer who said, curate a show that is an hour. Doesn't matter, just do the best you can to create the expression that you want to express. And because you could bring it to New York and get theater people to be interested in it and have something really relevant that you can share with the world. So he was really a motivator with us as well. Anyway, so it's a lot, but the roots are big. The roots are deep. They're very foundational. And I'm just grateful, really. Anyways, was that enough again? Or
Wow,
too much?
That is so beautiful. It's actually really perfect to learn more about the roots. And it sounds like with your mother's passing, I'm so sorry for your loss. It sounds like her intentions and her prayers gave you kind of an opening to really launch into finally sharing these prayers, these songs, prayer songs. Would you mind describing a little further these like a prayerful performance and what that
Mm,
might mean, or even describing the music a little bit, Anuveda, because like you just sang a few little pieces from some of them. And I wonder if our followers, our friends might be wondering, oh, what language is that?
yeah, yeah. I think it's just a language from the beautiful mother. I love, I love that we're alive. I have such a sensitivity. I get this from my father. He gets really astonished by being alive. He talks about very existential things, and I think it's rubbed off on me, and also being a Baha'i. There's a transmission that occurs. And imagine in one of my reels on my Instagram, I speak about how when I was little, I was illiterate. I couldn't really read. Was dyslexic. I had a difficult time with it. But I learned to read by reading prayer books. And my heart became a prayer book. And now I wanted to pray in all the different languages that I could find. And I studied Sanskrit. And my mouth is full of language. But these, these words or these vocables that come from the songs don't come from something that sounds similar very often to anything that we may have that I may have listened to. They've got their own tone, their own vocable, their own frequency. I just there's nothing uh, mysterious about it. Like we're on Earth. It comes from the Earth breathes us. The Earth breathes us. We can't breathe any other way anywhere else except for here on Earth. So through that breath, she creates our language. So it's really her breath, her expression coming through me. I'm a vessel of her expression. This beautiful earth is. We forget where we're dreaming, where we're eating, where we're crying, where we're processing, where we're having celebration here on this beautiful earth, right? So,
And so a
um,
prayerful performance then
prayerful,
this
yeah,
this means it's inclusive to everyone. This is
prayerful performance. Yeah, sorry, it's just the prayerful performance. Okay, okay, I'm gonna cut this for a moment just to let you know, folks. My house is so musical. I hope you can hear me because my son is playing guitar and singing. He's staying with my husband to be. We're getting married on Saturday, and his brother who just arrived from Chile. Anyways, so thanks for your patience. But prayerful performance. Okay, so you know how in the beginning I spoke about doing the ceremony, the wheel of life, like the different cycles of life. So, what am I going to do? I'm going to start doing ceremonies on the wheel of the year, but what I really want to do is evoke the sensitivity again within our own inner chamber, our own inner voice, our own inner counselor, our inner deliverer, our inner physician, our inner light, the one who we can hear inside, who's always been with us, the voice within us, the voice that guides our soul, and the one that's us, our soul, our spirit, from the very moment of being so young and little to this moment of being an adult and elder. I wanted to create something to draw more sensitivity to the fact that we are so alive, and the emotions that come with it, and the struggles that come with it, and the initiations that come with it. And so the frequency of the prayerful performance is to pray on everyone. We are praying for you. We are creating a ceremony of prayerful performance. So not are we only performing for you, we are reciting prayer to you as a witness. We are inviting the witness into the medicine, the space, the transmission, the the love of what we feel for what we have uh, developed together to be touched. We in this time, it's just so easy to forget about our metaphysical origin. It can be so inauthentic or so fabricated, and it's just depending on where a person is at when they're witnessing our performance, it's activating. They feel something's happening, And for all of us that have been doing our work or anybody who has witnessed us, they know that there's something different happening there. And now we've learned to take that magic and ground it in our performance. And yeah, it's just so beautiful. I just want to share it. I mean, as an artist, you want nothing more than to get it out because it will eat at you and it will tear at you until you fully express it and get it out. And it feels amazing. But then once you do that, you want to feed it to others. And I'm so grateful to artists. You know, I often say that culture, I tell the women that don't forget that we are a multicultural group, which was probably a next question you're probably going to ask at some point, right?
Yes, and also like that this is not a religious thing. It sounds like this is like Mother Earth. You were speaking about that before.
It's 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 an ode to the fact that we're so alive and grace is accessible within us. And our work, our artistry is just there to evoke the metaphysical within. We need all types of different artists, from visual to musical, anything on all levels, theatrical. Our artists at this time in this moment who are really fully being contacted by a force that what we call is Alwyn in Druidry, or the great Alwyn is contacting our bardic, Ovade, and Druidic essences and wanting us to express it because the world needs perspective, it needs challenge, it needs to know what is holy. Art is so holy, even the most dirtiest of art can be holy. It's a great reflection, projection. And so for us, what we say, or what one of the things I tell the women is that what I was going to say earlier was that culture, the origin of the word culture, how culture is from society's culture to, a culture in a country or a language, all culture was born out of the metaphysical experience. That means the experience of being contacted by the algorithms of and the serendipity and the flow and the surrender to watching the patterns in life as a creature, not just human beings, all creatures, and being struck with awe and just struck with, in a sense, struck with reverence, struck with honor, to honor it, to be devoted to it. And so much so that the metaphysical expressed itself through art. So we have statues, we have poems, we have poetry, we have prayer, we have culture. So, culture, the mother and father of culture is art and metaphysics. It's powerful. And we are expressing and atoning to that fact that that means that consciousness of this earth, the consciousness of this beautiful earth, she wants us to be conscious of our aliveness. We develop that very easily just by being struck by her beauty, by her sounds, from the birds to the wind, just really struck so deeply and in the most natural, super and very natural way. And that's where my inspiration comes from with prayerful performance, incorporating a ceremonial experience where the witness can just witness. When you watch a movie, you can almost figure out what's going to happen next, or you feel like perhaps you are the character. Well, our art is there to just allow you to drop in and just be. Just witness, just be. Allow yourself to just receive. Yeah. So it's
I
made
think
with
that's
love. It's made with love.
Thank you so much. I think that's a great opportunity to tell us a little bit more about this prayerful performance on May 26th, like what people might be receiving. It sounds like it will be intentional and it will be an opportunity to really maybe shake up the energy, move the energy. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, I can't really say what anyone's going to receive, but with something that's been curated from the core of our hearts, it's it's so individual what you're going to receive, but we're taking care of you. We are there to sing to your heart. We are there to evoke different emotions in you. We are there to have you reflect within yourself in the transmissions, in some of the poetry, some of the dance. I think there's two songs in there, two or three songs that have been recorded. There's one where I'm doing six different harmonies that we dance to. Oof, that's the Song of the West, and we call that song Journey of the West. And then the Song of the West comes afterwards. But it's really up to the witness to take it in and be touched by that metaphysical principle, just to open up the lens again from a new perspective. I don't just like one genre or group or pond of person coming. I really invite people from like the next door neighbor to the most, you know, unforgotten person you wouldn't think to ever just arrive to just come and be present with themselves in a state of reflection. I like that it's in a church because not only is the sound just phenomenal, and the pews are all made of oak, which is one of the holiest of transmitters and memory holders of the way the wood holds memory. That's another story for another time, and I probably will speak about that on the 26th. But it's also kind of like, I say Temple Grove, it's the temple. You're coming to the temple on the 26th. You're coming to the Rose Hive Temple Grove, the temple of the earth, the temple of your inner self. Yeah. So,
So, an intentional, curated musical soundscape. Is
yes,
that correct?
yes, it is journeying you along, you know. It has its own, and often some people will say, gosh, this feels so psychedelic, or it feels very dreamy, or it feels, how are you? I really feel the grace. Exactly. There's so many different things one might feel, and one might feel nothing at all. Sometimes nothing is the best thing to feel. They were just there and nothing. But I doubt that happens. It's
Love that your family is so musical because we could hear like maybe like a piano going right now in the
I know,
back.
and a bass, and it's just always
She
noise.
lives it and she breathes it, you
Uh,
guys. This is
yeah,
going to
and
be
I
so
marry it. I
wonderful.
marry it too, my
And
husband.
you marry it.
Yeah, I sing with my husband as well, and he helped too. He's going to be supporting us on May 26th. He'll be playing the piano for our Song of the North. Ooh, ooh, it's going to be so good. And then he's also going to be playing guitar for this wonderful song that our dear friend Anhita Zarmi has produced and has done a rendition of. That's a traditional song from Iran. So it's really close to our heart. And it has two different harmonies and a little bit of a third one. Yeah, it's the harmonies that you'll hear, the soundscapes, the harmonies, sound that you wouldn't normally hear, primal sound. For example, the Song of the East, there's always a bit of a pre-song before the full song. So the song that you kind of heard me sing at the beginning, Mia Mieta Mieta Miaho, the one I first received, now has a prelude, or like a pre-song before that song, I guess is what I mean to say. And that pre-song is the different stages of birth, all the way from the beginning of labor to emergence. It's so primal. It's the sound of what you would almost metaphysically experience and physically experience while going through birth. And we create that sound with rhythmic harmonies and drums, and there's even darkness because there's this fear before emergence where it's like Mia mieta mieta miaho. And Mia Malaya Malaya Mia yo. And it's got these different, we'll use the words and rhythmically bring them in. And that's the great thing about art is you get to interpret and decipher naturally. You don't really have to turn your head so much as just tune in, and sometimes a few days, weeks, or even a year later, oh wow, you know, I get it now. I love that about art. So
That
yeah,
was the first song, The Sun Rising. Is that correct?
yeah, yeah, the Song of the East. So yeah, and then at the end when the baby emerged, it's like Mia Mieta Mieta Miyaho with like three different harmonies that feel like the sun is really serious about rising today for this new life that just came to earth. Let's celebrate it. And it's not just like the fact that a baby is born, that we are reborn every moment and every day by every new action, every moment. Shame, which is our greatest challenge as a human being, and one of the greatest psychological spiritual warfares up against the human being, shame, to perpetuate as much shame as possible, could completely shut a human being down to the point of suicide, war, and even not even feeling worthy enough to walk your deepest desire. And the Song of the East is about all those, not just the labor, but the labor pains of being a human being in general. That it goes from like the rhythm of things being consistent to all of a sudden moving into uh, contractions and fear, and then eventually emergence as we shed skins and walk forward in new lights and a little bit lighter, but there will always be new challenges. And so that new beginning is at any moment, it's yours to take, you know, and that's what we're celebrating there is the birth of the human being at all phases in life as well. So it's reflected on, yeah, so it's east, it's all the directions, cardinal directions, including Miatru. So we call it the prayer bundle, but it's not the only songs we're doing. Just the first part of our performance is the five directional prayer bundle. Miatru is an ode to the great, beautiful Mother Matrix. It's like when we, and this song is gorgeous. We're about to launch this song on YouTube, Spotify, and so on, Miatru. But it's what amazes me is how I know what the words mean. I can feel it even though they're coming in. I didn't create them and go, let me think here. What would be a good word to describe this great mother matrix? No, it's just like Miatru came. She came to me to tell me. And it's interesting because it happened during COVID. So she was like, Mia Miatru, Mia la Wahariawa. So it's like saying the great mother matrix is here and no one could ever take that presence away because she is all of us. She is everything. She is the great Maya. She's the great matrix of love, creation. She's a creatrix. Mia, Mia Tru, Mia Shuk, La Wahariawa. No one can destroy her power, her unknowable mystery. No one. Mia Mia Tru, Ni Bak Tuk Shuk, La Wahariawa. From every direction, she is present. And then we go, helele, 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 lele, le, oh, oh, la wahariawa. It's celebrating her power. We forget the immense, the immensity of war and death that we just endured. What's been happening. I didn't have to endure it physically, but I have to watch at times helplessly and frustrated. But prayer is one of the greatest tools and swords for changing this world. Prayer is powerful.
Most definitely. Did you want to tell us a little bit about the women in the group? I know it's a multicultural group.
Well, yeah, just by natural, you know, selection, we'll say, by the force that drives this beautiful bundle that had its own mission. Really, I feel like I'm just a, I'm just the, I feel like I'm just the vessel and it, or the conduit, and it expresses through me. It's funny. But they also, as well, they've all just come into my life randomly, but it was like love at first sight. It's almost like how I knew. I would see each one of them, and there'd be this knowing, this deep connection, this excitement, this falling in love with their spirit. And it so happens that they happen to become, women from, you know, different roots of ancestry, you know. we have Caribbean, and we've got um, Maltese and Iranian and Italian, and we've got um, yeah, just South American. They're Polish. It's just it's interesting. Indigenous from Canada here um, as well. Um, but even though our one of our group members is a recognized card holder as an Indigenous, it doesn't mean that she's teaching us. We're all teaching each other. We're all taking this beautiful, humble little mission on just to express it, to make our little mark. You see, that's the thing about being an artist is we're just keeping the way open for the next generation. We're keeping the inspiration flowing. It's a really sacred duty. I take it seriously. This earth, if it loses that curiosity and that creative expression, it'll be a very different place. We're keeping we're keeping it alive. We're keeping it moving in beautiful ways. It's a real duty to be an artist, because you have to follow through. You can't just dream it. You got to follow through. You realize you're being contacted to follow through. So the women are just lovely human beings. All of them are. They work in service with other people. Uh, they're artists in their own way. Community networkers, just lovely human beings. Lovely human beings. Yeah, Lebanese, Palestinian. Yeah, different women, all different backgrounds. Very beautiful. Yeah, hanging out for a night to watch a rehearsal with Rose Hive Temple Grove is a lot of laughter, a lot of fierceness, a lot of gratitude, and a lot of celebration and snacks.
Definitely need the snacks.
Always. Yeah. So
Thank you so much for sharing your inspiration, Anuveda, and just a little bit more about yourself and what you're creating as a metaphysical artist. I'm really looking forward to May 26th. And for all of you who tuned in, please do join us. Again, the link will be provided to get your tickets. Anything else? Any last, words or?
come be curious. Let us let us bathe you. Let us give you a spiritual spa, a little metaphysical spa. Let us be. We we feel honored for those of you who are coming to just be one of the many opportunities and spaces that will give you versions of perspective and appreciation for being alive. Yeah.
Well said. And I can't wait to see you again. Thank you so much. And thanks
Thank you,
everyone
Jen.
for tuning in. Oh
You've been
my
so
God.
gracious. Thank you.
My pleasure.
See you all there. No.
Yeah, definitely see you there.
Yeah, definitely.
Hunata, hunata, hunata.